This is Tyrannus Acre Forward, the ag industry's most thought-provoking podcast. Listen to interesting people as we go in-depth into the issues affecting crop advisors, growers, and farm communities, uncovering the truth about the ag business and using technology to prepare for the unforeseeable. Ready to explore the future? Let's dig in.
Acre Forward podcast, where we delve into the latest innovations and insights future of ag. I am your host, Mark Bradkey, coming to you from Eastern Iowa, Iowa City area. Yes, home of Caitlin Clark. So again, grew up in Northeast Iowa on a diversified crop and livestock farm, and we were probably more heavily involved in livestock than we were in crops. But spent 20 years being engaged there, and then the remaining years of my productive life, I've been working in ag retail at the local level, working with regional ag business as well for the rest of my career, and spent a couple of years at a local retailer looking at Tyrannus. And so then I retired, and basically I had a call that there was an opening, and I jumped at the chance because I recognized the opportunities that Tyrannus present to the grower. I talk about step changes in agriculture, and there aren't a lot of them, but the last step change that I feel like I went through was moving from composite sampling to grid sampling. So this is a lot like that. This is a way of giving growers a better opportunity to understand what's going on in their field with and through their trusted advisors who see the information at the same time, and you can make some better decisions based upon that. So again, Tyrannus is the world's leading AI-powered crop intelligence platform. We're 100% focused on helping ag retailers demonstrate their value to their growers through and build better relationships through full service leaf level data capture. Tyrannus allows both parties to accelerate decision making, simplify management, and maximize their profitability. That's it in a nutshell. Again, better information leads to better decision making. Better decision making leads to less risk. I'd been through the 80s, didn't like it, but I was well managed through risk. I've managed through risk by making sure that I had every tool I could use, just like about every other farmer at that time, highly leveraged, and I knew there wasn't any room for error. We're kind of going into that a little bit this crop season again, where we're seeing a lower crop and commodity prices, and a little tightening as well. But to me, that means we need every bushel we can get out there. And again, utilizing Tyrannus, we're able to maximize those acres instead of guessing what's going on out there. So, Carly, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, so thank you, Mark. I am Carly Deichler. I'm currently a crop production specialist in sales with Premier Co-op. I'm located in Fenimore, Wisconsin. I started by attending a small town high school, Kickapoo High School, and from there went on to Southwest Tech, got my agronomy degree, and during my Southwest Tech adventure, we're required to do an internship. So I interned with Premier Co-op, and after my internship, they offered me a full-time job. So that's where I've been the last 4 years. Been in sales ever since. So I've been in a lot of crop scouting. So that's where Tyrannus definitely comes into play. But just some fun facts about me. My family had a dairy farm. We sold the Holsteins and got Angus cattle. So now we're a crop and beef farm. My husband and I farm in Northeast Iowa, crop farm, and his family has a dairy and beef as well. So very seasoned in the agriculture industry, I guess you could say. So that's one thing I think growers that I work with at Premier really can relate to me, or I can relate to them really well because I know what they're going through. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background. I'm obviously a younger generation. I try to bring a lot more technology to the plate, which is interesting because there's definitely other people in the industry, whether it's farmers or people that work for a co-op, that are against technology. And I think it has its place. There's some places it shouldn't be used, but it's important to at least be educated on it and to understand what's out there, what's available, what's going to help our growers maximize their ROI. Um, so yeah, right now it's raining, so that's beautiful. I think we've got about 3 inches in the last 2 weeks. So after a very dry year last year, we are excited for every drop we could get. Um, there's a few people that have been getting in the field. Some corn and beans have gone in the ground, not too much. I think after this, it's going to be about 30 degrees the next couple days. So after this cold couple days and the moisture, as soon as things dry up, I think everybody's gonna get in the field and get seed in the ground for sure.
Yeah, it's that time of year, isn't it? We
Yeah.
went from thinking we're ahead of the game to all of a sudden now we're almost behind. Yeah, and I did experience some of your snow last week too. So, or the week before on a Friday. I heard some areas got 9 inches of snow again. So I got in
Yes.
on about 3 of those inches. So again, so and what other technologies do you utilize at Premier Cooperative?
So we currently use SMS Advanced for like our grid sampling. We use it for mapping sometimes. We use it, I'd say more so for like VRT recs on fertilizer, planting, stuff like that. Um, so we use that, and then we have um, like a computer system that we use for dispatching sprayers and spreaders, and we can put maps into that system as well. Um, and when we send, I can just go in real quick, punch the fields in, takes 5 minutes maybe, and then dispatch it to the applicator, and then they can pull it up on their iPad. They can see it as they're going down the road, so they know, like, if there's one grower that has a farm 5 miles from another farm, they can see, oh, okay, they can just kind of tell where they're at. um, so I think that's huge, especially for newer applicators that haven't been on these farms before. They they love it. They, if I don't put the maps in, they ask me to put the maps in before they leave. um so there's a couple other things, like just little tidbits. I have an app on my phone called Plant Net. So if there's a weed that's kind of unusual that I don't know, I can just take a picture and then it'll give me the options, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's that one. Yeah. So there's definitely technology that we use every single day that helps a lot.
Yeah, that's especially important for a couple of reasons. Number one, your growers are expecting you to know everything, right?
Yeah.
And when you're young, you haven't seen a lot, so it's good to be able to verify what you think you see out there. Again, you're utilizing some tools to understand what's going on below ground with sample grid sampling, those types of things. How do you see your field? What do we call it again? I'm sorry. What
Field vision.
Field vision? Yeah. How do you anticipate using field vision to enhance your offerings to the grower even more?
So we're very excited. Last year we trialed Field Vision. Very impressed with it. We love how accurate pictures are, I guess you would say. Um, we can zoom in and see like a particle of dirt, basically. It's such high quality imagery. So we have brought that on this year. We have a quite a few customers that are gonna try it out this year on their own farms. But I think a huge thing is when me working at a co-op, I have so many responsibilities between dispatching the applicators, making sure they have everything they need, helping the tender drivers load their trucks, loading the fertilizer trucks, and keeping the fertilizer tower full. And aside from that, like being in the planner with my customers and scouting for them, there's just so many different places we should be all at once. Um, it's gonna be huge to just be able to run in my office, click a picture, and see what it looks like without having to drive there and drive back. Um, and the other big thing, we have quite a few farms where you can't see the back of the farm. There's just no way. It's over the hill, it's surrounded by trees, or it's surrounded by, it's just all corn or whatever the crop is. And I'm not going to walk through the corn when it's that tall, where I never get anything done. Um, so I think that's huge, how the drone covers every square inch, way better than I ever could.
Yeah. So when you're doing all those other activities, when you find time to walk a field, right?
Right.
and do a really good job with it. Again, when you're entrusted by that grower to know what that stand count is to begin with, and then utilize your activities and in this case field view to understand the next steps along the way too. That you're right. I did it 30 years ago. We didn't have time to walk every field. We still don't. That's why I call it a step change. We're able to see, like you say, every inch of that field without having to walk it. And again, drones never get tired. The information's back, within 24 hours to legally 72 hours, but mainly 24 hours and less by the time that the drone's flown the acre. So that information gets pushed back to you and the grower at the same time in a pretty timely manner, so you can make better decisions.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the other thing is that it it's super nice when we have growers that have maybe like 20 different farms and we need to look at all of them. But if we can just look at our Taranis insight or our field vision insight, um, we can see, oh, hey, this field has some notifications that there's a whole bunch of grass coming in or something. So I need to go there, but this field is perfectly clean, so we're good. I mean, I think we're still gonna field, like personally walk the
Sure.
fields, um, but maybe not the ones that are completely clean.
Yeah, certainly understand validating what you see from our images. The other thing too is I would assume that you have some interns. Since you were an intern there, you're in that intern program. It's nice for them because they really don't know a whole lot about what's going on when they reach your doorstep. So it's a way for them to validate also. And again, that kind of technology from our side, we think that is able to impress young people, especially to come back into this industry. That all
Yeah.
they've heard and known their lives is it's a tough haul. You're walking a lot of fields, you're doing a lot of different things, as you say. So we're simplifying that decision making by being able to look at this on your computer or your iPad, your phone, along with the grower at the same time if need be.
Yeah.
So what do you see uh, happening in the next 5 to 10 years that in your thought process is something that would be coming into Premier Co-op and Field Vision?
So I think that we've been saying it for the last 5 years that I've been in the industry. There's a lot of technology coming up to the plate. I never thought that there'd be something like field vision. Um, but that's just how incredible, how fast the technology is moving along. The amount of technology they can put on planters and tractors is just crazy, mind-boggling. Um, so it's it's not surprising. I think that there's a lot more technology that's going to come that we don't see coming, which is awesome if it's going to help
Mhm.
better our customers and our lives. Um, but I think I see a lot more field vision being utilized to help the growers and to help us as a agronomist or a crop scout.
Perfect. Um, we talk about agriculture like I do anyway, like not a lot has changed in the last 20 years, but there are new things facing growers, new challenges. What are some of those challenges that you see in the near future?
Yeah, so one big thing that pops to mind is water hemp. That's a weed that we did not have around maybe 10 years ago, and now it's popping up everywhere. And it completely changes our weed spectrum, changes the herbicides that we use and the herbicide rates and the traits in the corn or in the soybeans. It changes so many things. And there's other factors out there like tar spot. That's something that people have been watching, keeping an eye on. Um, but I think that's like there's a lot of weeds that are becoming issues, but there's also obviously, like you mentioned earlier, the grain prices right now, commodities are not looking good. The cash flow is not going to be great this year if things stay the way they are. Um, and that's something that's out of our customers' control.
Mhm.
Of course, there's marketing, there's things to do, but farming is gambling. It always has been, always will be. So you never know. You can't hit it perfect every time. Um, so that's something that a lot of people are worrying about. And with that, they can't cut back on things like herbicides when they have water hemp. So it's finding that balance of, if they don't make money, we're not going to be there. So we need to make sure that everybody's taking care of each other.
Yeah, the only way they make money is to maximize their output, their bushels. And if you're protecting those bushels through the variety of risk management tools that you've talked about, that's the best we can do, and that's the best they can expect. But again, like you say, we don't control the markets, but we certainly can control to some degree the output or the yield with corn and soybeans through the use of these tools. So as you look in your view of the next 5 to 10 years or so, also, what do you think Premier Cooperative will look like in that period of time, and what does it need to look like as you mature in this industry and contribute?
Premier Co-op has already made a lot of changes, and Premier was established in 1893, so they've been around a very long time. So there's been a lot of changes over the years, but they've made some changes in the last couple of years, building a new fertilizer facility at our Lancaster location. So that's something that they made the decision because it was going to be the best thing for us, for the future of the agronomists and people in operations. So it's like a floor mixer. So our current tower in Fenimore is about 100 feet tall, and not everyone wants to climb it when it needs fixed or when something's wrong. So it's hard. It's hard to, again, be an agronomist and then I get pulled aside to go climb the tower. It's just easier to have something that's safer and easier to work on, easier all around. So they've built the Lancaster facility, which has been very helpful for us, taking some of the work off our shoulders. They are going to build one in Cuba City. I think they broke ground on it already.
Mm-hmm.
So that is for the Hazel Green and Platteville location. And they're always looking at ways to better the future, better, like I said, the lives of us that work there. They have been updating equipment regularly. We keep getting more technology on the equipment. We're to the point where we have a sprayer that has, a couple of them have the AIM system, but our newest one has like blue lights on the boom. So if it's
Okay.
dark out and he needs to get something on that doesn't need to be sprayed off by 7 o'clock, he can keep rolling to get it off. So that's kind of cool. We have some spreaders that have a lot of new technology on them. And I would just say all around, Premier Co-op is great about keeping us as agronomists updated, educated. They send us to a lot of trainings. If we are interested in going to a training, they're like, yep, go ahead, go learn. Do whatever you can to better yourself. So I think in the next 5 to 10 years, Premier is gonna really show through that we're a local co-op. We have 11 agronomy locations, I think, and they're all in Wisconsin. So it's not like we're a big national corporation. So we really try to provide the best service for our customers, best education, and anything we can do to help them. Because honestly, the people at my location in Fenimore, I think over half of us are farmers ourselves. So we completely can relate to them. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, during times like this, we can look in the past and see what's gone on, and appreciate your company being started in 1893. That's when our home farm barn was built, was 1893. So I can relate to that. That's a while ago. But again, you look to the future too. Premier isn't going to pull its wings in and hide through tough times. They're going to continue to do the right things to be in position to move forward as things get better as well from an economical standpoint in the next year or two. And again, that's important to be looking forward more than we look backwards. And in the next 5 to 10 years, I'll be excited to see where Taranis is, or in your case, Field Vision, and see how we're contributing to that as well. We're not going to sit still either. We know that we are a value-added service. But as you've said, there's a lot of value in adding that service to help you and help your growers. And that's what it's all about. We've just got to be on top of things and not have any disasters out there. So what happens when you don't walk clear through that field and you don't get to that other hill and walk it? What's the combine conversation like after that?
Depends on the grower, but it could be some raised voices. Um, Typically, our customers are very, very good. They are understanding. They will just call and say, "Hey, I want to walk back here either, so we need to watch this next year."
Mhm.
But that's happened before where we didn't see the back of the field and they don't see it until the combine goes through,
Yeah.
and that's not a good conversation.
Yeah. Well, and again, we hope that isn't an everyday conversation or on a lot of acres, but it typically can happen. Uh, the other thing that I think about with Tyrannus or Field Vision in your case is that you've got a history of what's going on that farm. If you decide to move into another position or out of the company for whatever reason, a lot of times we see all that knowledge, field knowledge, walk away with that agronomy advisor. I think this is a good way of utilizing information, not only to figure out and decide what to do this year with this crop, but you've got all the bases there to have a great conversation with the grower about what we're going to do next year, differently, the same, whatever it is. But you can point to those fields and look at those images and be able to have a great discussion with the grower, as opposed to, as you say, when they have 20 farms, a lot of fields, sometimes it's hard to remember what happened where. But this is again, a non-invasive way of keeping track of information through generations, as well as from year to year.
Yeah,
And
that's a very good point.
would think it'd be helpful to you guys as well. Again, as new people enter that and enter the business, it's nice to be able to have some background before you get started too, because there's nothing more thrilling than learning on the go when you don't know anything about that grower's field. And the person before you probably was there 20, 25 years. So it's a learning curve.
Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely have like my notebook that I take all of my scouting notes in, but like you
Mhm.
said, technology is a good way to save information. Anyone can look back and it's not in my handwriting with my words that no one else would understand.
Yeah. 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 And right in that area that you're talking about, now we can document those areas that are problematic to the grower. And how's a grower work with you when they either rent a new farm or buy a new farm and they don't know much about it? Again, if we've had information from that farm, uh, the grower can get a jump start on what the weed pressures have been, those types of things as well. So a lot of ways to grow that relationship with the grower and tie him or her to Premier Cooperative and be leaders in that field. Again, little bit different than in Iowa. We have a lot of hogs. You have a lot of dairy cattle. What are some of the issues you have that revolve around having dairy?
Well, lately we've been losing a lot of dairy farmers. So many have sold out, just like my family did in 2019.
Okay.
I was the youngest kid out of three kids, so my mom works off the farm. So my dad's help was graduated and going off to college. So we sold the cows, and we were a 60 cow dairy, which at that point was getting kind of scarce. I wouldn't have had it any other way, but now there's like 200 cattle dairies that are selling off. Even in the dairy state, it's just so hard to make it work. It's hard to find people that are willing to work the crazy hours all year long, 365 days a year. And we it's hard, it's sad. There's a lot of older farmers that are also struggling with it. But that's finances, and that's again something that we can't control every little bit. Um, but we do still have some dairies around that are great
Yeah,
to work with. And with that comes a lot of manure being spread, which usually involves a lot of weed seeds, which involves even more scouting. So
sure.
those
Yeah.
are some good places I could see field vision being utilized.
Well, and again, as labor gets more scarce, not only at the local dairy farm, but also in your world as well at retail, um, it's management is getting stressed on both ends. So if you've got a dairy, that's kind of your primary responsibility. And, I don't want to say that crops are secondary, but you only got that dairy farmer only has so many hours in a day as well. So being able to help those guys who are concentrating more on that with good information, great information compared to what we've been doing for the last 30, 40 years, I think would be invaluable to the grower, dairyman, and also to the cooperative.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have so many customers that have full-time jobs aside from farming, which is sometimes how they make it work. Um, but they ask us, they're like, hey, can you just make sure that this all goes good? They expect us to be there, um, of course, giving them the best advice and leading them in the right direction. But they don't want to have to be educated on every little weed and every herbicide and everything like that. So that's especially dairymen. They, like you said, have enough going on. There's always something. So if they can just focus on what they need to and trust us, that is huge. So we try to do whatever we can to help them and better their world.
You've just described the trusted advisor role. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, as I say, they've got a lot of irons in the fire, and they trust you to do the right things out there. You got a lot more tools with your field vision to allow you to do that than in the past. Any
yeah.
other any other watch outs you see as we head into this next season?
We are looking at moisture a lot, as I talked about earlier. We're definitely still behind on moisture, but if it keeps raining regularly, that's going to help us a lot. Last spring, we went into the spring with, I would say, a little bit below adequate moisture, but we weren't that far behind. And then after the summer and fall being so dry, we were just so low on subsoil moisture. So, if we can keep going and get the moisture early this spring, that's going to be huge for getting the crops going well. Um, so I would honestly say that moisture is the biggest thing that we're looking out for right now, and just being mindful of, if I don't need to work the ground, I'm not going to keep the moisture in or keep the residue on top, um, to keep the moisture in. Whatever it is, there's a lot more conversations being driven by the drought.
Yeah, that's in my area as well. We've had 2 years of not much moisture, still struggling a little bit to get moisture. So again, that is a huge concern. But it also brings different challenges to you and to your growers at the same time. So weeds seem to grow whether they have moisture or not, right?
Absolutely.
Then again, Carly, thank you for being with us today and working with what Tyrannus brings to your business through Field Vision. We're wrapping up another episode of the Acre Forward podcast. And again, a heartfelt thank you to you. Appreciate your time. I know you're busy. Thank God it rains every once in a while, right? Uh, and again, I encourage our listeners to stay curious, stay innovative, and continue to push the boundaries of what's possible in agriculture. I'm Mark Bradkey, your host, signing off from Eastern Iowa. If you like to listen to past and future episodes of Acre Forward podcast, tune in on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and keep moving the acre forward. Take care, everyone.